Good evening, good people. I'm Doug
Hello,
Handy.
and I'm Abir Shanawi, and welcome to Real Talk, Our Space.
All right, so here we are, final episode of September. So that means it's the final episode for our theme. A brother's gonna work it out. That's been our theme all month of
You have to
September.
say it right. Brother's gonna work it out. Come on. Okay, there you
It's
go.
been a good month. You got that's your thing, right? You got it. Right on cue. Right. So since it's the last Wednesday of the month, that means what, Abir?
It is Hip Hop Day.
Hip Hop Day. A great day indeed. Hip Hop Day.
Yes.
So, and tonight we're going to do something a little special. We're going to have a two-part episode, and we're going to give you two guests per episode. So we're giving you like basically twice your money's worth
That's right.
this evening. First of all, we got father and son, Brandon and Nico Ware, who will be talking about their experiences as past and current music producers, respectively. Right? That's going to be hot.
Yep.
Then for part two, we're going to keep it hot. We got consulting teacher Keith Lewis, who is also considered a brother to me in much of our work and interest, and Muhammad Ramadan, who is an attorney and Abir's actual biological brother. And they're going to join us for a hip hop roundtable.
That's right.
And well, you'll see when we introduce Brandon. That's definitely my brother. We go way back. So, but Abir, talk to us about tonight's episode. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, tonight is very exciting because, like you said, it's like a two-part segment. We have father and son, and then we have like a friend and my real brother. He's actually he hates it when we say this, but he's the youngest of the six. We're actually 10 years apart.
Really?
Something. And so the theme of hip hop, when he was visiting me like a couple of weeks ago, he thought he was smart, right? So since we're talking about hip hop, right? He talked about, put up this picture. Isn't she cute? That's me. But he said, my sister looking like a young Snoop Dogg. He's going to kill me. I didn't kill him because I love him, but I looked at him like, yeah, I wish I was Snoop Dogg, but with not all the money, right?
That's right.
That's the type of relationship we have. And one last thing, since we are on hip hop and, with all the debacle of yesterday's quote unquote presidential debate, I stumbled upon this on Facebook from a friend of mine, and it's very befitting for our theme. Presidents are temporary, Wu-Tang is forever. Damn right.
True indeed. True is a damn right. That's right.
Yep, so.
Don't get it twisted, right?
Nope, that's right.
So
go ahead.
No, just saying, you setting the tone, Abir. We appreciate it. So definitely some good things ahead. We got Sahara here as always. Good evening, Sahara. We can't imagine like going on broadcast without you. So, but we ready to bring them out because we got jam-packed shows.
Hi. Yes, and then just Laura Thomas, a friend of mine from Mexico City.
Worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yeah, yes.
So what we got here?
All right, so we're going to start off with Brandon and Nico. So Brandon and I met in 1986. Known this brother for quite a while. And one thing we shared is a love of hip hop. We've been chopping it up some way, somehow ever since. Certainly been grateful to have him in my life all these years. He's currently a software engineer, and he was a hip hop producer during the late 80s and early 90s.
Nice.
Along with Brandon, we're going to have his son, Nico Ware, who's a 21-year-old college student and a music producer. So before we bring out Brandon, one thing I want to show, this is how we used to do it back in the day. This is wax. And we're going to talk about this. This isn't just any wax, but this is wax that Brandon and I put our footprint on and our fingerprint. This means something. This is personal. As you can see, I'm getting revved up. So we got that. And then just real quick, actually, I'm going to say the next one I'm going to surprise Brandon. Come on. So with no further ado, I think we're ready to bring our guest out.
Okay, here we go. We have Brandon and Nico. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thanks for
welcome.
Thank you. Doug is all excited. This is so nice to see childhood friends. Last week we had, I guess, I forgot what you guys called him. Kevin.
He calls himself Shindell, but yeah.
Shindell, okay.
For our avid viewers, Brandon was Brandon Shindell and me. We were D6, I think. That was our class.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you, gentlemen. So we are talking about hip hop, so we're going to get straight to it. And we know that you guys are both producers. So which hip hop producers influenced your work?
That's kind of a hard one. Because I just try to listen to everything and take something from everybody. But just initially, I'd probably say EPMD.
Oh, good. Nice choice.
and also Seji Scott LaRock.
Oh wow.
Criminal Minded. That Criminal Minded was crazy. So, then probably later on, RZA, Dre, Premier, of course. Yeah, that's about it. While I was doing stuff.
Right.
But those are the dudes that really kind of brought something different, or brought some kind of consistency to things, and kind of made you think that, hey, I can do a little something different.
I like that. Make you think outside the box.
Exactly. Yeah, even if whatever you're doing, it's always helpful to have somebody do something a little bit different.
Right.
And it kind of sparks off something in your brain. It's like, hey, well, maybe I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to do this thing instead. Sometimes you need that.
Right.
So B, you mentioned EPMD. No surprise there, because I got several albums. So, but I noticed that, remember the Quadriverb and the Echo. I noticed you didn't quite bring all that. you didn't do it to that extent, but yeah, definitely good memories with EPMD.
Yeah, I remember that line well. I had a Quadriverb, and that pumped me up. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing the right stuff.
Right.
How about you, Nico?
I'm gonna be honest. When I started out, I wasn't really relating to the older music that much. So I really started out listening to the newer producers like Zaytoven, 808 Mafia, people like that. I don't know if anybody on here even know about that. But
are you calling us old?
What you trying to say?
Maybe you're calling us old, but okay.
But I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I like Timbaland. I like Manny Fresh. I kind of like the Dirty South kind of sound. So that's more what I gravitate towards.
It is very unique.
But I like a lot of electronic music. Like I used to listen to like Daft Punk, stuff like that.
Okay.
I try to incorporate that in too.
Okay, we knew a couple of those. We weren't that old.
Right.
I don't feel so bad.
So Nico, I did notice a certain producer was missing from your list, but were you influenced by I don't know, Brandon, were you influenced by your father at all? By any of his work?
In a way, but not. I mean, I've heard it, but it's not really what I grew up listening to, or what I listen to on an everyday basis. So I guess it didn't influence me that much, but I think he definitely did, I guess, put me into this position so that I could even make music. So that's I guess a great gift, I think.
Yeah,
nice answer.
Yeah. One thing I noticed about him is he'll hear something. If I show him something or whatever, he's like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm gonna go this way.
Okay.
So he was definitely in the I got to do my own thing.
Right.
So,
okay.
I can respect that.
And that's what we wish our children to do. We lead them to where we want them, and then it's up to them to make the decisions that they want to make.
Yeah.
So you had some influence, Brandon. We're going to give you that one.
Right. Credit due. But that's a good segue, right? Because and Nico, you kind of hinted at it. Yeah, but how did you get into producing music? And Nico, we'll let you start off and then come back to B.
I mean, I think the first time that I really put something together was probably I was 3. It was on the first, one of the first Macs, but it was just loops, stock loops. So it wasn't, it wasn't anything crazy. But I would say I really started probably freshman year of high school, 8th grade. That was when I really started, I guess, consciously listening to the music that I was hearing instead of just letting it play in the background. And so that's really where I started. And then that was when I was listening to Waka Flocka and Gucci, stuff like that. So
how did that all come about? Because I would like B to talk about this a little bit. I mean, we know, like you mentioned, getting on a Mac, messing around with some software. I mean, I remember B, his whole room was laid out with equipment, right? So how did you go from, what you were hearing to actually, starting to make your own stuff? And even if you could throw in, maybe some software or hardware that you actually, got your hands on? How'd you get into all that?
I mean, I guess I still started on GarageBand in 8th grade,
Okay.
but then I moved to Logic Pro. I've just been on that, and I don't really like. I have a keyboard, all that drum machine. I don't really use it. Honestly, just type everything out, like just arrange it by hand. Click, basically.
Okay.
So you just drop notes into the sequence.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just kind of draw it in
Mhm.
on the score.
Mm. So B, how about you? How about how'd you get into the production? I was there for some of it. But,
Yeah. Well, I started out trying to DJ because I saw hip hop and heard hip hop rather, and it was crazy back then. It was just nothing like it. Your parents didn't know anything about it. It's like, I'm getting in on this. So I started trying to DJ, and I bought like a bootleg 12, and a 12 Technics 1200 turntable, and a mixer and whatnot, and started doing that. And after a while, that's the records I was playing. I just said, I want to make these records. I don't just want to mix them. I want to actually make them.
Make them.
So exactly. So then back then you had to have a sampling drum machine. So SP1200, MPC 60. That's what you had to have to do hip hop. If somebody asks you, you produce hip hop? Yeah. Which one do you use? You use MPC 60 or SP1200? And I couldn't afford that. Those things were thousands of dollars, and I just didn't have that kind of money. And,
I was going to ask that question. I mean, does that material, because nowadays, like, things are all on computerized, but I'm sure back then, you had to have everything. I was wondering what the price of that would be.
Right.
Can you answer the question? It's expensive.
It is expensive. And it's a lot less expensive now, but back then it was very expensive.
That's so interesting.
I managed to get my hands on a drum machine. It was a pretty cheap drum machine for the time. It was kind of groundbreaking. And I also bought an effects unit that could sample in addition to doing effects like reverb, delay, and that kind of thing. And I kind of programmed the drum machine to trigger samples and basically do what you could do on the MPC 60, SP1200. And that's how it started. And just took off from there. I just buy equipment every chance I got,
Right.
Yeah. Like I remember that I'd go over B's house because I could walk. Our houses were walking distance apart. We had like a school in between. I walked through the schoolyard. We'd ride the bus home together. And every time I would go by, he'd have some new equipment. And he would show me some stuff. I never got real nice with the production, but he always tried to show me, like, let me show you how this works. So B, one thing I want you to talk about, and then I want to jump back to Nico and some of this. I was flashing this before, right? So for us, this was a big deal, right?
Right.
Out of all the music Brandon was making, and he used to make mixtapes, and I would take the mixtapes back to A&T with me. So Brandon was at Morgan State, right? I was at A&T. He made these nice mixtapes for me. But for us, the ultimate was pressing up this record, right? So we had some young fellas that we met, in high school, and they were the MCs, and I actually put up money. I used to attempt to MC. I'll admit I had my rhyme book, but I decided I put up some money. Brandon did the production. But I don't know if you want to talk about this whole process at all. Anything that sticks out to you on this about Vital Signs, Rock and Rhythm, right?
Right. Well, yeah, that was interesting because back then you had to get signed. Well, she weren't going anywhere, so we said, well, let's just try to do something, man, because can't just keep begging for a deal all the time. It's just not cool. So we got some money together and pressed it up. Went to the studio, mastered it, and went through all the rigmarole of getting that done, and it was cool. We had to do a lot of footwork and run the records around the city, man, and take them to all the record stores. And I remember this one cat, he said, "Wait, you did this? You did this record?" I said, yeah. He's like, "Who helped you? Who helped you, man?" Like, nobody. We just did it, man. We just did it. So, that's kind of what you had to do, either that or
major hustle. Major
Exactly.
hustle.
Yep.
Major hustle.
And I remember we talked about taking it around to radio stations. So remember, I was down at A&T in Greensboro, and shout out to WNAA. That was A&T's radio station. Shout out to all college radio. Shout out to Black college radio. And I remember taking it to the studios, like, would you please play this record? Like, and they was like, you can leave it, we'll see. And I never forget, I went home and I had the boom box, and when they played it like that night, it was a Saturday night. I'll never forget. I queued it up, and like, they playing. I joined on the radio. So it was big fun.
Yeah, that was nice.
Nice. So kind of want to compare that to Nico. I remember the first time you and I talked about your music, and totally different experience, right? I was like, you got anything I can hear? And you remember what you told me?
I can't even remember that. I sent you a link or something.
Yep.
On Apple Music.
Yeah, he sent me a link on Apple Music, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The difference and the variation from just, a couple of decades. It's insane.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about producing and, Brandon, you're talking about the hustle. Nico, talk to us about the creative process on being a producer, because it does take a lot of creativity, like your father alluded to, the sampling and putting things together. What is the creative process for producing?
Man, that's a crazy question. But honestly, I try to switch it up, but my thing is I just try to do it, I guess, as much as I can every time I think of it. I'm not really, I guess, stressing over the process exactly. I might sample something, like get something off YouTube, sample that, or I really make my own melodies a lot now. So I just draw some stuff in. Sometimes I like to put like tape effects on my stuff, so it sounds like it was sampled, but it's really my production. But yeah, I really just sit down and just start making sounds, basically.
So
it's really not much more than that.
Right.
What do you usually start
with your procedure?
What do I usually start with? The melody lately. And then I go to like hi-hats, like to make the swing of it. And then I throw in, usually I do percussion after that to really like set it off. I like to do the bass last because I really feel like the bass is an important part of the music, but it's really like the underlying part. Like I want the rest to swing first before I really get into it. So
you do have a process, technically, if you think about it. There's a whole process that goes, method to your madness, as they say.
Now, did you have, I guess, do you think about vocals when you're doing the music? And some of what you play, you definitely had some hip hop. You let me hear. I know one track, it was somebody singing, more of a singing vocal, R&B type. But do you ever start with like the vocalist first in mind, or do you usually start with like whatever your instrumental vision is?
Well, the R&B song I sent you, I actually had sampled the girl that was singing first, and then I had actually like made the beat from that.
Okay.
And then I got in the studio with her and had her, go over top of that. But usually when I'm by myself, I'm just working on the beats, and then I might like freestyle to myself or something, to get the flow down. But I don't really start out thinking about the vocals because I really think the beat is the most important part of the song. Like,
okay, yeah,
the vocals are cool, but they're always just to set the beat off. I don't really feel like they're ever really the main event in the songs that I really like. So I don't really try to consider them that much.
Got you. Okay. All right. And then Brandon, how about you? You do you consume Nico's music, or are you a listener? Do you get to hear some stuff, or
I hear a lot of his beats coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And do you get involved with the creative process? Does he take the feedback from you, or
yeah, sometimes he plays something and I say, hey, what would be dope there? We could do this with this. And usually he doesn't take my advice.
You made that clear earlier.
I know, right. And that's what I expect.
That changed, right.
Sometimes he's like, yo, this is not the 90s.
I could say worse. You could say this was in the 70s or 80s, but okay.
Right. In case we need a reminder. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So Nico, let's look forward a little bit. Like you said, this ain't the 80s, this ain't the 90s. But so musically, what's next for you? What's down the road for you as far as the music?
I'm just trying to get better at it, man. I can really put out music, I guess, anytime I want, because there's so many services to distribute things to, Apple Music or Spotify, stuff like that. And that's really, especially now, that's how most people making their money. So that's really, I guess, the only plan. I'm trying to get paid for doing what I feel like doing. So
Right.
I'm gonna try to get the music up enough that I can get my streams up there. Might do like an instrumental album or like electronic album, or just just anything. House music. I don't know.
Okay.
Anything. Just try to turn it into something. Yeah.
Okay.
That's really it.
Good. Go ahead, Abhay.
No, I was going to say we do have a question, but go. If you
Yeah.
want, Brandon.
No.
So here's the question. So this is for you, actually, Brandon.
Oh, okay.
So the question is, what are the most remarkable changes or evolutions you've seen in the industry, tech production, music trends, for better or for worse? Good question. Sahad always has amazing questions. Thank you, Sahad.
I'd definitely say computers and the internet just completely changed everything for the better, I think. Anybody can get their music out there to everybody. I think that's just a good thing. But there's one drawback there. And the drawback is there that anybody can get their music out to anybody.
That's true. Right. Everybody thinks they're an artist, right?
Right. So it takes a lot for you to cut through the noise one way or another.
Good point. I see. Good point. I mean, that is true. It's just like, people on social media and everything, everybody thinks they, can produce or they can be an artist or whatever. So I think social media has brought people's egos a little too inflated.
Like everybody's a star, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So.
You got people jumping out here trying to do live streams and all sorts of stuff.
What's wrong with them?
All right, so gentlemen, we're gonna wind it down for our first part. Well, we do have a challenge we like to issue, so we're gonna it's called the 4x4 challenge. And one thing I want to point out, and this is why B's my brother, right? So top of the show, he mentioned like it was when we talk about hip hop, we talk about the 4 pillars. And I remember B would be in the hallway and just like quick bust a move and hit down and do like a quick spin and jump back up, like so he was b-boy and he was DJing.
I remember.
Right. So I don't know if Nico can be boy like that, but so the 4x4 challenge is pretty simple. We try to honor hip hop. So we look for 4 pillars: graffiti art, DJing, breaking, and MCing. And we just ask our guests, just name one person from each of those 4 pillars. So we figure we got father, son, guest. So we're gonna let y'all do it how you want. So if between the 2 of you all, and you name one person from each of those pillars, that resonates or connects with you. So that's the challenge.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to fail, I tell you that. Who's going first?
What's the first category?
So here you go. So you have graffiti
artist. I'm gonna say, Basquiat. I don't know if that counts.
Okay.
But that's what I'm gonna say.
Said, I think last week.
Yep. Yeah. So Basquiat's kind of powerful. Yep. So we got one.
DJ, I'm gonna say DJ Paul.
Okay.
Once again. B-boy, I honestly have no idea. My dad, I guess.
Nice. We'll take that.
I'm gonna let him have the last one though.
Okay. MC, Brandon.
MC, man, that's a tough one.
I set him up.
Yeah, I can. I'll just say Nas.
Oh.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right,
You
all
really
right.
mean that, or you going because we know somebody's a huge Nas fan?
Very nice segue. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, yes.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on Real Talk. We appreciate you coming and sharing your experiences. Best of luck to both of you, and we'll definitely be listening for your work, and we'll be in touch.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you.
you.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you
care.
both.
Good
Appreciate
night,
y'all.
gentlemen.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right.
All righty. Well, so that is part one
Yes.
of our segment. So now we get into part two.
Part two.
So,
Yes.
Sahar, let's just do a couple of comments. We have our friend Michael Grubbs who says, Wu-Tang ain't nothing to... That's right. Grubbs, you got that right. Hola, Laura Tamas from Mexico City. And of course, my friend Josh Golfin, who's a former student of mine.
That's right, former student, right?
And yes. You have something to show us?
I do. So since you set it off with Wu-Tang and Mike Grubbs keeps it going. So one thing I said, me and B, we would go around and buy singles. And I remember B was like, you got to hear this group, Wu-Tang Clan, Protect Your Neck. So here we got Protect Your Neck on wax.
Wow.
Dusty fingers, digging in the crates. This is how we get down around here.
It's still in plastic, though. Did you?
Still in plastic. Yeah, but it's, so you do keep it plastic. So, your stuff don't get all torn up, right? And then you get the wax.
The people leave the furniture.
Okay, exactly. So just setting the mood. So we, okay, good. All right, so we got the hip hop flowing.
Yes.
Got the comments coming.
Now
all right,
we have
so
our two next guests. So we have Keith Lewis, who's a brother from another mother, was born and raised in Baltimore. I'll give this to him, the son of Marvin and Ella Lewis. So if they are listening, and Mama Lewis, I know I've spoken to her before. He is a product of Baltimore City Schools. And of course, if you're from Baltimore, you got to shout out your high school, not your college. Graduate of Poly or Baltimore Polytechnic Institute and an HBCU, Morgan State. Go Bears. 24 years of teaching in Baltimore City and Baltimore County Public Schools. He's been a team leader, curriculum writer. He's done it all. He's currently a consulting teacher with Baltimore County Public Schools. And I have to say, I think the first Black male consulting teacher. So he is doing amazing things with that.
Trailblazing.
Absolutely. And a recruitment consultant with Towson University, which is also huge. Award-winning Black Saga coach. He's a father of two wonderful young adults and the husband of a beautiful woman. Yes, Monica, we know that. And he's a lover of hip-hop, jazz, and comic books, which I'm sure he'll talk about. Then we also have Muhammad Ramadan, who is, of course, my brother, founder of Ramadan & Associates, a Chicago-based law firm focused on personal injury and business law. He is one of Chicago premier attorneys and was recently awarded by Super Lawyers, which is a designation given to only 2.5, not 2%, 3%, 2.5% of attorneys in Illinois. So we are excited to have them on, and we have Muhammad and Keith. Welcome, gentlemen, to our show.
Welcome. And Abir, not only are we excited, but look, it's like they got the cheering section going as they come out. So we got Robin, got to represent Western. You know how that is, Keith.
All right.
You always got those doves hanging around, right?
Keep my sister. That's good.
That's right. Sharing that quad. And then our brother Joe. Joe's been on the show. Always good to hear from Joe. So he's
nice.
So yep. So
all right,
welcome, gentlemen.
We're gonna get down to the nitty gritty.
That's right. It's been a long time in the making.
Yes.
It's good to come together. So let's start off with our first question. So, gentlemen, we have Lupe Fiasco, who I believe is he from Chicago?
Yes, he is.
That's what I thought. Okay, so you know who came up with this question, right? So he had a song titled "Hip Hop Saved My Life." We also have, of course, when Common had his Love of My Life, and I Used to Love Her. And
also from Chicago, right? Yeah.
That's true. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. Yeah. All right, y'all represent. So, question: how has hip hop influenced your life personally and professionally? And Muhammad, why don't we start with you? Because Keith is a return guest, so we want to make sure we got, make Muhammad feel welcome right out of the box.
I appreciate that, right?
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Hold on.
I hear a little bit, but it's...
All right, let me...
Okay. Yeah, it's earbuds.
Hear me now?
Okay. He's warming you up, Keith. No.
There we go.
There you go.
We got it. We got it.
Okay. All right. So to answer your question, sorry about that, and a little technical difficulties. Hip hop was a huge role for me. I had a non-traditional route. I barely graduated high school. I went to community college. I finally got to DePaul. I got denied by every law school except for one. I got a conditional acceptance to get into Michigan State. So throughout my journey, I didn't grow up around doctors, lawyers, so on and so forth. My idols, kind of till today are, guys like Diddy and Jay-Z, because, I preface this by saying I'm an 80s baby, but I'm a 90s kid. So I remember when hip hop was still taboo, right? A lot of kids these days, you see it everywhere. They're in Pepsi commercials, so on and so forth. But, when we were growing up, hip hop was still kind of taboo. It was kind of the thing where if you were listening to it, the old white lady would clutch her purse because she was scared listening to, right? So I saw how Jay, instead of just going to work for someone, started Rockefeller, right? And what I loved about Jay and Diddy is they did it their way. They didn't allow the game to change who they were. As Jay always said, I didn't go pop, I brought the pop to the hood, right? So I always viewed them as, so when I came out of law school, I started my own law firm, right? Right away, as soon as I got my license, I started my own law practice. And it was the hustle of these kind of guys that I looked up to who were changing the corporate world as, quote unquote, corporate thugging. The idea behind corporate thugging was you might not like us, you might not want us there, but we're here and we're going to make our space, whether you like it or not. And that's kind of the same mentality that I took. I came into an industry that wasn't really welcoming guys with a name like Muhammad, a beard. I wasn't even getting job interviews, right? And at that time, a lot of law students were kind of really flustered. I knew in law school I was going to go on my own because partially I was playing with house money. I wasn't supposed to be there, so I looked at it where I'm playing with house money. But I looked at the Diddies and the Jays, and like I go to meetings now, I'm in jeans and some Vans or some Jordans because Russell Simmons once said,
"Yes,
you're good. They don't give a I'm sorry, they don't care." Tie. If you handle your business, you handle your business, and I loved Russell for that. So for me, it was always the Russells, the Diddies, the Jays, those kind of guys. Really, until today, I still kind of had that influence where they did it their way, and they didn't allow an industry that wanted to crush them. And now they're at the top of the industry, and now they're hitting $1 billion. And even till today, I'm still influenced with Jay, and a lot of the work and a lot of his later work really reflects on, my personal growth at this age. I'm different at 36, 35, 36, I forget, compared to I was at 21, 22. And, when Jay says, got his last song, but it's one of my favorite Jay quotes when he says, they say, "Oh, how high is high enough?" Till we see I and I with the higher ups. That still resonates with me because we're still building, and Jay is telling you, "Yo, we're not there yet. Keep going, keep going, keep going." And he's already at $1 billion, but now he's working with the NFL. Now he's doing this. Now presidents are asking him to come talk. You're talking about a dude that used a brick to start Rockefeller, and now all of a sudden he's meeting with these bigwigs and he's a billionaire. But Jay never changed his essence. He grew as a man, but he never changed who he was. So hip hop for me, and just the Pac, the bigs, they just really, I looked at them as people who went into an industry that didn't want them, and that's how I felt coming into the legal world. And now I do things my way per se. When I first started marketing, I did a hype video with Kanye West, Power Beat, from Chicago. I did the Power Beat, and I had a lot of lawyers kind of ridiculing me, said, "What are you doing? It's not professional, yada, yada." I had 50,000 views. People loved it, and they respected that I stood by who I was. I told people I'm a hip hop guy. I mean, I'm a hip hop kid. I'm a 90s kid. This is what I grew up with, and if you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. And now people ask when's my next hype video coming up. So the originality of Diddy, I loved the fact that Diddy did what he had to do. The swagger, the ego, of Diddy was always something I looked up to. So these are the guys that I looked at and reflected on through my career more so than anything else. I only had one legal kind of role model, and that was Johnny Cochran. Johnny's what really got me in law, and Johnny's a hip hop lawyer. I mean, I still consider him a hip hop lawyer. So for me, it was Johnny, Jay, and Diddy. Those were my three kind of that I looked and reflected upon and kind of followed their model throughout my legal career and still till today.
That's powerful. So I'm going to just say right at the top, respect. And I'm hoping folks are listening and they can run it back and listen again. But like the embodiment of what hip hop is, right? Some people get stuck on, this is my favorite song or my favorite MC. Listen to how Muhammad broke down. Like, I mean, this is like the essence, right? I mean, respect. We all right. We good. We heating up now. All right. So
my brothers like on single name terms, Jay and Johnny and Diddy, like single name terms with these brothers, So, but that's great. How about you, brother Keith?
My journey, I guess, is going to be a little different. I'm a little older, or a lot older, depending on what you want to say. My dad and my mom were blue collar workers. They wanted the best. But in my household, I grew up listening to Gil Scott-Heron, Earth, Wind, and Fire. What is that? A lot of James Brown. Oh my God, how could I forget that? James Brown. So my entry point into music comes from those R&B legends. Couple that with the fact that my dad was always talking about Black pride and Black power. My mom was, of course, backing up her man. So whatever he was saying, she was saying. Take that and you put a Black boy into city schools. And of course, I still remember our graduation song was Imagination, Gladys Knight and the Pips. So I'm giving you all this R&B as my background because I leave Baltimore city schools and I go to a Catholic school that is predominantly white. A lot of things change in that predominantly white Catholic school and things start to be shaded a little differently. This is when I start to see really what racism and stuff is like. At the same time that racism is really, starting to raise its head toward me, Run DMC starts to come out.
Okay.
We start in the hallways. I got my boys with me and we're humming UTFO as we're walking in the hallways. The girls start getting the comeback when Roxanne Shante or Roxanne comes out. She's, she hits back with hers. So we're going back and forth. And we're listening to this music, banging on the desk. I got my boys that are banging on, banging beats on the desk. Teachers are getting mad and putting them out. And we start to gradually see that it's not just us as Black kids, but now it seems like you're putting an assault on Black music. So whereas I might have strayed away and gone back to R&B or something that I guess they would have considered safe, I went forward and kept going into hip hop because I was like, oh, it's taking you off. Oh, well, then let's listen to this. And you started to push the envelope a little bit more. Take that to going to Poly. And while there, that's when I really started to get into the rap that would be the biggest influence on me. I wasn't big into Big Daddy Kane a lot. I appreciated EPMD, love Boogie Down production, but that really wasn't my thing. What really set it off for me was some of these, like nowadays you might call what I call sometimes like popcorn rappers, but I love Kid and Play.
Yeah.
Being able to play around when you're in class, and we had a drama teacher, and the drama teacher used to, tell us to get up and freestyle and try to learn how to speak in front of crowds and all. So me and a buddy of mine jumped up and we did Kid and Play Kickstep.
Classic.
You know what I mean? So it kind of switched things around. But at the end of my time in Poly is when 3 Feet High and Rising hit. And for those that don't know, De La Soul for me was those are the guys that did 3 Feet High and Rising. But that album right there did it for me. And then everybody that was part of Native Tongue kind of flowed with me. And that was the vibe that I just continued to have. If you were pro-Black, if you were talking about things that I could relate to, if you had that vibe where Black is beautiful and Black is power, then I was listening to it. And that influenced me personally because really that was the music that I stuck with. because of the old ways and the things that my father taught me, I still had that jazz influence. So of course I still listen to jazz, and I could understand where the samples were coming from when I listened to Q-Tip.
Right.
But add on to that, I guess when I move from the personal end to the professional end, when I became a teacher, I never forget, and this kind of made me laugh when I heard your brother talk about that whole idea of women clutching their purse when they heard certain things. My first year teaching, and Wu-Tang was big for me when I was in Morgan, especially the one that gave the shout out to Morgan State. Wu-Tang ain't nothing to mess with. Anyway,
before it was to Morgan State.
Yeah, they shout out Morgan State.
Shout them out at the
know,
end.
you better holler at it at the end.
They
shout it out at the end.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, Hammuda, for backing me up. Yeah. Anyway.
But that is the only college they shouted out.
But that's the only one that matters. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead. But fast forward to my professional, and again, that late Wu-Tang was influencing me. I had a Wu-Tang CD that I played to death at Morgan. My first teaching gig, my Wu-Tang CD, I think, was broken, or it stopped just playing. I played it to death. So I went to the store. When I'm in the store buying CDs, and yeah, I know people don't really do that anymore, so folks, I understand. But when I'm in the store buying the CD, one of the parents of one of my students comes up from behind me. And instantly, she like, you can tell when people like glancing at the stuff you picking up. So she did a little glance, and I was just like, yeah, that's what I'm buying. So you could see on her face, she was a little like, but she was with it. So she's like, oh, okay. I said, yeah, that's what I'm buying. I'm checking this out. So that's been kind of my musical journey with hip hop. It has influenced a lot of what I do, and how I became, I guess, really focused on Black history and Black thought.
So, Bear, before we go to the next, I just had to, this is for Keith, since we were digging in the crates, right? So I told you, it was all about the singles, right? Remember this, Keith, Getting Funky?
Yes, sir. That was the one.
Yeah, exactly. It was quality.
Have you seen them two try to do their Kid and Play act now? They could barely move. It's so funny. It's hilarious.
I mean, come on.
I don't know. I mean, we're talking about
Father Time is undefeated. Yeah.
I don't know. So, but we have a couple of guests before we move on. So, yay! My friend Lauren says she's here. Thank you, Lauren, for joining us. She also loves the Run DMC. I mean, you can't really appreciate hip hop.
She got good taste. Good taste. Yes.
DMC, of course. And Sahar says, yes, Doug. Of course. So great question. So this is going to be a very fun question to ask you two. And I know my brother's been hyping up for this one. So who are your top 5 MCs and why? Now, Hammuda started first last time. We're going to have Keith start first, and then we'll have our brother chime in next. All right,
so if I can jump in, I thought about this. Well, let's do it like this to make it a little interesting. Okay. We'll have Keith start, but Keith, I don't want you to give me 5. Okay. Keith, you give me 1, and then we're gonna jump over to Muhammad and let him give us 1. Is that fair? With a little volley until we get. Is that good? And shout out to Joe Tang, because Joe's been asking for this for months. So shout out to Joe. Here we go.
All right, here we go. Bring it on.
All right. So we just giving out 5, no particular order, right?
No particular order, and honestly, you make the category. You when we say why, these aren't necessarily the best MCs. These are your top 5 MCs. Yep.
Gotcha. All right, so my 5 will be.
Well, give us
LL.
1 now.
We're doing 1.
Yeah,
We're doing 5.
1 to 1. You give us 1.
I'm sorry. First one will be LL.
Okay.
And I give LL his props for longevity.
Yes.
I just think that he's been in the game for a while, and he can still bring it if he needed to. So I give it to him for longevity.
Yeah, he still looks good.
Okay, I don't know about all that.
You know, he's
surgery now. I guess whatever it takes, right?
Right.
Since we're talking about Father Time, Doug, I mean, I threw that in there. So.
He's doing a pretty good job against Father Time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Keith, for longevity. Hammuda, what do you say?
Number 1, the undisputed GOAT of hip hop, Jay-Z. There's just no doubt about it. He's the greatest ever. There's no question. It's not even a debate for me anymore. You want to talk about longevity? Check. You want to talk lyrics? Check. You want to talk money? Check. You want to talk cultural influence? check. I mean, just listen to the Black Album. He makes his own case for himself when he talks, I think, track number 3, I don't, Moment of Clarity. But you know, you want to talk about credibility, check. You want to talk about lifting hip hop. I mean, he saved hip hop. You know, for those that remember when Pac died, you know, hip hop was kind of on a limb. But when Big died, hip hop just died, and it was a 6 to 8 month lull with it was just dead. I mean, we were all just really hit hard by it. Then Jay came and just really resurrected hip hop. But I mean, the guy's still putting out albums at 40 plus and crushing these mumble rappers right now. He's still relevant. He's still relevant. I mean, he's got multiple classic albums from Reasonable Doubt to Blueprint. You know, so anything you check in the box for talking about the GOAT, I think Jay checks every single box without a shred of doubt, and I don't think anybody's even close to him.
Told you, my brother, I'm ready. All right, now let's round 1. So just in between, tune into our YouTube channel, Real Talk Our Space. Please, we'd love to have subscribers, and if you'd like to send us any ideas or any comments, it's actually no www. I'm sorry, it's realtalkourspace@gmail.com. So that was round 1. Yeah. Okay. So
we do have a.
To you in a minute, Joe. Don't worry, I'll get to that. Jay won the war, my friend.
There you go. Okay. So ding ding. That's round 1.
Oh, good. Round 2.
Round 2. So should we have Muhammad start first now, since he's okay? How would I keep going?
That sounds fair.
We said no particular order, right?
Correct.
Okay. Nas is in my top 5, guaranteed. My only issue with Nas is he's had some really crappy albums. Probably my only biggest issue with Nas. Outside of that, greatest storyteller of all time. Illmatic really set the stage for the future of hip hop from that point. I do want to answer the Ether question. Ether was great, but if you really listen to the lyrics, Jay spoke facts, Nas spoke jokes. So I think Nas won the battle. Jay definitely won the war on this one. But with that being said, Stillmatic, the Reverse song, was one of the greatest written songs I've ever heard in my life. The level of intellectuality of Nas, just his flow, his raspy voice. I mean, do you get more hip hop than Nas? I don't think so.
Are you happy now, Doug?
I am, and I'm kind of. It's funny, Muhammad. I'm kind of exhaling. I thought you were gonna have Nas like in your bottom 5, but and I mean, but the arguments. I mean, it's like check. If I ever need legal counsel, I know exactly who I'm calling. Like, man.
No, that's right. And I'm telling y'all, I told you, get ready to play. Okay. All
right. And what you want to get Joe's comment before we go to Keith?
He has conceded and said, fair enough. Sorry, Joe.
He rests his case, right?
Yes, all right. All right. So then, still on round 2, Mr. Lewis.
All right. Well, I'm not going to bring all the facts. I'm just going off of pure flow alone.
That's cool.
All good.
Yes.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Folks can say what they want about other people and, you know, their albums and all the other. That Rakim's flow is almost untouchable. And definitely, I know he fathered a few styles that are still out there. They can't touch him, but they're trying. But Rakim's flow is untouchable.
I'm not. Am I supposed to not say anything? Can I jump in?
Oh, you can. Go ahead.
Okay, all right.
Because I'm going to be a fly on the wall this
okay.
I'm loving this. I'm like McDonald's.
So the list so far, I'm check. So, and one thing I think is very important, because sometimes folks talk to me, they're like, I really don't understand hip hop. I don't know anything about. Listen to what these gentlemen are saying. Like when you talk about Nas's influence and like embodying hip hop, check, right? And then so Nas was the bridge for me. When I was teaching, I'll never forget, I actually had really stopped listening to Nas, really for the reasons Muhammad has said, right? It's like some of these albums, man, what you putting out? Then Stillmatic came out. I think it was 2001. And one of my students said, check out Stillmatic. And I checked out Blueprint, right? So I heard The Takeover. And I was like, damn, Jay just went at him because we loved the battle. Back to Keith and LL. Remember, Keith? LL would battle anyone and everyone and bury them. Make people just stop rapping. But Nas's embodiment, and then back to Rakim, I never forget. Help me out, Keith. WEBB, I think, AM radio playing hip hop in Baltimore,
Yeah.
and hearing Rakim and like what is going on? Because before then, remember, everybody was kind of happy and joking around and laughing and carrying on, and then the God MC, right? So
he just brought that game a totally different level. Like if you want to see when things start to change, that's when things start to change.
Absolutely.
Modern
his albums are just
flow.
ridiculous.
He invented the
Yes, tell them modern
Yeah.
flow. And then I'm gonna just make one more bridge and I'm gonna get out the way and let these brothers do their thing. Nas did put out a double album. I'm not sure it was worth the double album, but he had a song on there called ABR, UBR, unauthorized, anyway, UAR, unauthorized autobiography of Rakim. Just like Muhammad saying, you don't have MCs making songs about other MCs and like giving homage to other MCs. Listen to Nas's songs, you understand what Muhammad's talking about with Nas, and that'll help you understand what Keith's talking about with Rakim. And then just go ahead and play Paid in Full a few times on loop. And then throw in Illmatic and Stillmatic, and then we can keep it moving. All right. So go ahead, fellas. Y'all jump back in there.
Ding, ding, round 2 is over. Now round 3. We'll start with Mr. Lewis.
I'm gonna go with
order, of course.
I'm gonna go with my favorite, even though, well, I'm gonna say my favorite, but I alternate. Biggie's my man. His body of work is not as long or as broad as others, but there is no question when it comes to influence. I already talked about Flow for Rakim, but Biggie's sound is just different. Like you can just tell a Biggie tune when you hear it. But just his influence alone, I mean, just in to sit back and to listen to Hypnotize or Somebody's Got to Die. I mean, there were certain things that were on those albums that were just that they came out at a time I needed to hear. And
Right.
and his, like I said, body of work. Yeah, it is very unfortunate that body of work is as small as it is, but undeniably he did the most in the short time that he was in that industry.
And longevity doesn't always have to be,
Not at all.
like you said, he left his mark.
Definitely.
Even though it's quality over quantity, that's what I always say, right? So we have comments. We have Zila's in the house. Always CP10. That's so funny.
So Z used to be. We used to go on air when Z showed up, and if we did that today, we'd be going on air right 53 minutes into.
She said if y'all aren't talking tropical, we aren't done yet. Z, so if I was going to come on here or not.
Gotcha.
Okay, there we go. Keith got you. So, all right, and I just got to give this to my sister-in-law. Hi, Sam. They look so pretty. Thank you. That's my sister-in-law. So we have a lot of family and love in the house. All right, so that was.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, so that was Keith. How about you? Who do you think? Who's for your round 3? Right? Is that round
3? Yep. Yep.
You want to talk business, we'll talk Jay. You want to talk history and historian, you talk Nas. You want to start a revolution, you got to have Pac. I don't think you can talk hip hop without talking Pac. I know some people don't think lyrically he was that great. I disagree with that. Just because you don't have crazy wordplay doesn't mean your words don't resonate. Me Against the World is arguably his greatest album, in my opinion. I know people say All Eyes on Me, but if you want to talk track to track, real life stuff, nobody's going to move you like Pac. I don't think there's an MC that really hit your heart, hit your mind, and with his background, just his knowledge, kind of the Black Panther background, the revolutionary in him. And that's not even talking about his artistic career as a actor, which, what's his name in Juice?
The character's name?
Yeah.
Bishop.
Come on. I mean, Bishop is an all-time character. I just think Pac is just untouched when it comes to just, if you ever want to feel a certain way, Pac got that song for you. You want to party, Pac will have that song for you. You want to start a revolution, Pac will have that song for you. You want to talk about, women, Pac got that song for you. And I just think he really brought something to hip hop that was really needed. And it's needed today because they don't talk about crack no more. But, Pac really talked about a lot of things. that just only Pac can do. So Pac is definitely on my list.
I was waiting for Tupac to arrive and show up.
You wouldn't have let him. You wouldn't have let him out the studio if he didn't, would you?
No. So
He had to make an appearance. All right. So we're halfway home here. So we're gonna stay with Muhammad, right, for round 4.
Yes.
Yeah. So my top 4 undisputed. It's those 3, and then Biggie, of course. So I did Biggie because Keith did Biggie first. I mean, it's Big Papa, man. I mean, there was nobody as hot as Biggie. He put Brooklyn on the map. His flow is untouched. His wordplay. A lot of people say "Ready to Die" was his best album. I think it's his best album, but what was the double disc called?
Life After Death.
Life After Death was his most complete album, but Ready to Die to me was his best album. That was raw Biggie. Give Me the Loot, Suicide Song, Suicidal Thoughts, and then his wordplay with all the female R&B artists. I mean, that was just Big Papa, man. I mean, it was just nobody could touch that flow in that era. And he went at the West Coast. I like that, Snoop crushing the buildings, selling records. Biggie was no punk, and I like that about him. He represented Brooklyn. There was nobody more New York than Biggie, and he was the king of New York at the time. So you can't,
true indeed.
in my opinion, you really can't talk about Pac without Big, and you can't talk about Big without Pac. I think there was a yin and yang. Unfortunately, it was a crappy situation, but Biggie was just Big Papa, man. And Ready to Die was one of the most raw, in your face. I mean, it changed hip hop, and that's when hip hop was kind of going pop a little bit. So when we did the "Give Me One More Chance" remix video, I mean, we couldn't wait for Yo MTV Raps to play that song because that's all we had at the time. We'd wait all night just to see Big Papa sitting in the chair with all the women and you had this big dude that was just Big Papa, Gucci down to the socks. I mean, he made you feel rich. I mean, and you're talking about a big dude, So Biggie brought a vibe that I don't think we'll ever match ever again.
Wow. Good. And throwing out also a lot of things that don't exist anymore, like Yo MTV Raps and things that were the height that really made people's careers as well. And if you didn't do that, your career is over. So, man, we have a lot of old heads in this house today.
Classic. Representing.
All right. So, Keith Lewis, ding ding for your number 4.
All right, I'm gonna go West Coast, and I only go West Coast for this dude. I don't go West Coast for anybody else. At least not individual. But for individual, I'm gonna say Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And I say Ice Cube for 2 albums, for Death Certificate and for The Predator. And I'm gonna go to the Predator album in particular because when the stuff went down with George Floyd over the summer, I sent out a tweet, and then I sent out a couple messages to people that I knew. And I was like, if you don't understand, there's a song that was on the Predator that basically was just talking about everything that was happening with the riots and stuff in LA at the time. But I think I can't remember the actual title, but all I remember is he says we would have tore this MF up. And if you didn't get it back then, you got it right now. And the way that Cube talked about revolution, the way that Cube talked about fighting back in the street with what was going on and making people understand that, hey, these rules are wrong, these politics are messed up. I'm tired of talking. It's time to start fighting back. I just love Cube for that. And Cube kind of came along, and those 2 albums came along at a time when I had seen shifts in America and social justice needing a change in America. And this was in the 90s. The shame of it all is you can take Cube's albums right now, and that same protest you can apply to today. And it's crazy how much those albums still resonate with what's happening in the streets right now, with what's happening with Black people right now, Black men. Anybody that their voice isn't heard, put on an Ice Cube album, and anything that he talks about in reference to protest or fighting back, you will feel it. You won't just hear it. You will feel what he's talking about.
And I think that's what makes these artists, why they're on your top 5, is because they transcend eras. They transcend generations. They spoke truth in their moment, but it still resonates to today. And that's when you know you've got a true artist, whether they have longevity or not. So I think that's good point about the whole revolution. We're all about revolution. Let's see our comments.
That's right. Revolution on both sides.
Yeah. Lauren is loving this. This is the first time she tunes in, and she's loving it. Yes.
All right, Lauren, we need you to subscribe, right? Be straight up. Subscribe and come back.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so that's ding, ding. That is round 4. We're down to the final round 5.
Final round.
And we start with you, Keith. Who's your top 5 now?
Q-Tip.
Your last one. Q-Tip. There you go, Z. I hope you're happy.
If my journey with hip hop really gets to start with that whole black pride and black love, Q-Tip is my man. His voice is just different. When you hear a Q-Tip jam, you know it's him. Yep. The way he puts rhymes together, I think in some cases are second to none to a couple of these, and definitely anyone out there nowadays. I'm like, you can't put your fingers on him, you can't touch him. It's just something about his style. The way that Q-Tip was not just in his rap, but the way that he presented himself as an artist. He was really, to me, when you look at him and De La Soul, those groups or those guys really didn't present outwardly what folks thought a hip hop artist should look like. And then when you saw him and you were like, oh, wait a minute, he's not right. But then you heard him and you said, oh my gosh, this guy's got something different. He's on a different level. The way that he rhymes, what he talks about, how he makes you feel when you're listening to his rhymes, he's on a different level. He is, I'll say this, of all the rap MCs that I appreciate, his flow is the most close to how I feel when I listen to jazz music.
I can see that. Yep. I can hear that. Okay. Moment of thought, deep thought. That's a good way to end for you, Q-Tip, because he makes you think. It's cerebral, you know, rapper with a conscience before there was rappers with a conscience, right?
Yes, indeed.
Something like that. Okay, so we got that. Let's see which. Yeah, there you go. Z's happy. Q-Tip, an entire experience, which is true, you know, and still is. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so now ding ding. Hamouda, it's your turn.
I'm going to give you guys a really lawyer answer for this one because my 4 are undisputed for me, those 4 that I mentioned. My 5th for debate, and the 5th would be depending on what the question is, whether I think the greatest or my favorite. The greatest would be for the 5th spot between Cube, Rakim, and I think Snoop doesn't get enough credit for what he did for hip hop for the West Coast. For his longevity, I don't think Snoop is really given enough credit in these conversations.
That's Snoop Dogg.
That was a good one.
That's Snoop Dogg. My daughters will never let me live as Hamouda Snoop one eye open.
So
which one are you going with?
So for greatest, I'll give you my favorite. My 5th favorite would be Kanye. I think Kanye really changed in the modern era. I think if you really listen to his lyrics, his lyrical capabilities do not get enough credit. He is a Chicago guy. He put Chicago on the map for us. But Graduation is arguably my top 5 greatest albums ever. But greatest, if I'm taking my objectivity out of it, I would have to give the nod to Rakim just because I don't think you have a lot of these other guys without Rakim. You know, people don't realize how his longevity was there. He could battle rap. He can flow. He'll crush you. He'll party with you. He had swagger, the gold chains. Just, you know, Rakim was someone that I think, again, I can't stress enough. You don't have the rest of these guys with this flow without Rakim. But I will give you a caveat. If we were allowed groups, I think NWA would take my 5th spot. I just don't think cultural influence. Anybody could match NWA. I think what they did for the West Coast, I think Eazy's style was just nobody will ever touch Eazy. Match him with Cube's writing. and Dre on the beats. I mean, I just don't think he's a better group than that. I know Wu-Tang would be in there, Tribe would be in there as well. De La, you know, for people like Keith would be in there. So I figured if we were allowed groups, I think NWA should fit there. But if not, I give the edge to Rakim just over Ice Cube over for the 5th spot.
Love the analysis. So I do, and Kanye, you know, I've started thinking,
Graduation is an amazing album.
Graduation is dope.
Yes.
But I'm with Joe. Like that, like I had to break down and buy My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like I just sonically, that was just, I don't know, like Kanye at the height of his creativity is I mean, it's something phenomenal.
Ahead, though. He's always ahead.
Yes.
So when it comes out, you're like, yo, what the hell is this?
Right.
You're like, damn, that was dope, you know, because now, you know, everyone else is doing it. So I just think Graduation was one of the most complete albums, and I just think he don't get enough credit lyrically. Now, I've heard rumors he has a ghostwriter. I don't know how true that is. If that is true, he gets X'd off the list automatically. It's not been corroborated. So
it wasn't Kim Kardashian who was his ghostwriter, was it? I don't think so. No.
What?
I said it wasn't Kim that was his ghostwriter, was it? No.
No, probably not.
Right.
I hope not.
Nah.
Our comments are on fire, by the way.
I know we could be here all night, but Z's got a good point.
KRS One. He's asked Damani. Damani, what's up? Did anyone know?
And
he's always
no, and I'm gonna.
Oh man, I can't dig KRS One. He's always so mad. Like, just
I brought him up.
Time.
You did bring him up, Kim. That's true.
Like he's always mad.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry. He hates every generation.
He's
He's just a hater. Like
he's at every generation.
I don't listen to Drake, but I respect his hustle. I respect what he's doing for this generation, but I don't listen to him. KRS One just hates everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But Z, I'm with you on KRS. Best live show without no doubt. KRS One will crush any MC in a live show. Saw him right before COVID hit. So yeah. So
he's probably mad at COVID too. So okay, we're good.
That's right. He turned his hate towards something good that time.
The mad rapper skit on Biggie's album.
That's what he was talking about.
Why you mad, son? Why you mad? Like damn.
Oh man. Oh my God.
Too much fun. So let's see. Last comment before we go to Keith giving us. Thank you, Sahad. We're loving it today. Honestly, this is a great one. So we're happy. This is where people are giving us real talk.
That's right. That's
so
right.
This is Damani. He said most definitely. This is Damani. All right, Salam Damani. Thank you. There you go.
Cool.
So Keith, give us your last and final.
Now Keith's done. He gave us his.
We did.
Q was not. Yeah, Q was not in.
So what we always do is, we hate to have all good things must come to an end, right? And we usually do the 4x4, but y'all have been spitting out all of these great things. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist and have y'all kind of narrow something down. So this is the question. Mm-hmm. Which artist would you have perform an album about your life and why? And I always add this to it. What would the title of the album be? And I know Hamoud is not going to say KRS-One at all, so he's off the table. He's off the table. So either one of you can go first.
Keith, you ready? I got the first part. The name of the album I don't have, so.
Okay.
You got the first part?
Yeah, I can go if you're not ready.
All right. Go with the first part because it's going to take me a minute because my answer is not going to be a hip hop artist. But go ahead.
Oh, I think I know who it's going to be.
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
I know too.
For me, it would be Nas. I think he's the greatest storyteller ever. I don't think Biggie's close, but I don't think he's to the level of storytelling as Nas. I also think from my story, being a first generation immigrant, Palestinian, I think Nas is intellectual enough to understand my history, my background, and the level magnitude of what I went through in this country as a first generation Palestinian American. I feel like I can sit with Nas for hours and discuss this issue in depth that I wouldn't be able to with most of these artists. And he's the greatest storyteller of all time. So if I'm going to have anyone make me look good, I'm going to pick the greatest storyteller of all time. So I would definitely go with Nas. I considered others, but I just don't think anybody's really touching Nas. My second pick would be Ghostface, just because I think it would be interesting. Ghost is my guy. I love Tony Stark.
Yes.
My favorite Wu-Tang member, him and Meth, but I think he might annoy you a little bit. If you're not a huge fan of Ghost, his voice might kind of irritate you. So Nas, just because of his level of intellectuality, I think would really fit my story.
That's really well said, Howard. I mean,
you
put everything about Nas in one particular, that whole particular album and how
you be happy, Doug. See you.
I'm saying, Muhammad, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I'm sitting here I'm like shocked.
And I'm being here because I'm always trying to instigate. I need to stop because
I know. Now I'm saying right. I see who the instigator really is.
But I mean, I love how you brought that in because I think it's important for people to talk about. Because us being first generation, music is also what got us through what we have to get through. It's also that acceptance piece where we felt, and even Joe talked about it when he was on the show, being, Chinese American and having something that he can connect to. These people were really talking to him. And I think that's the connection that you have. But that's great analysis.
And the name of the album would be House Money. And the reason I would call it is I feel like I'm playing with house money. I didn't belong in college. I didn't belong in law school. Like I said, I got denied by every law school. Michigan State gave me a conditional acceptance. I got in. I was bottom 20 in my class. I'm going on 10 years. And like I said, I won super lawyers. I got my own firm. I'm hiring folks. So I'm playing with house money, and that's how I look at it. I didn't belong here. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I am. So I put all the chips in the middle, and I'm playing with house money, and I'm still playing with house money. So that's how I view my life and my career. That it's just I'm at a position I'm not, and I wasn't built to be at by the system that was built. So their money, not mine. So that's why we're in the house money.
Did I not tell y'all the South Side of Chicago Pally Style was going to show up tonight? And it sure did.
Don't you talk about your brother anymore.
Joe, stop it.
Joe he's really talking out. He wishes he was here. He's like,
All right, that might be a future episode. Can you imagine the three of them on here? My goodness.
Hey, let's bring it. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. All right. So, Brother Keith, we know who the artist would be and why, but we want you to share it to the audience and the name of your album.
All right. So I'm going to throw a little curveball because you all know who I would pick. But for this, I'll say it's a collaboration album.
Oh, okay.
On one side, you give me Mos Def. And on the other side, you give me Prince.
AKA now Yasin Bey.
Yasin Bey.
Yasin Bey. Okay.
So you give me Yasin Bey on one side, Prince on the other, and the title of the album will be Purple and Brown. Because that's how we get down.
You could be writing your own lyrics before you back in your will.
I'm put it together now.
Since he cheated, I'm gonna cheat. So Nas is telling my story. Sam Cooke is singing my hooks.
Ooh.
Okay?
Wow.
Sam Cooke is singing my hooks. In a guest appearance to talk about my love, my wife, or whatever. She could pick one. There you go. I know you can do like 3. Platinum. We're going platinum.
I'm buying both of those. Yeah.
You may change the rules, but my brother's going to be up and be ready to play. So Joe is funny.
We're going triple uranium.
Yes.
Hands down. Total soul.
One of the greatest. Absolutely.
Too much fun. So
wow.
I know. Doug definitely can sleep a happy.
I know, right? I'm good. It's right. Y'all might as well sing me a lullaby tonight. I'm good.
I'm throwing this out there now. I really think. And now we have Keith. We have my brother Muhammad. Let's bring Joe and have it's every month. So let's make it happen. Joe, we putting you out there. So if you're ready,
we need a full hour if you bring in Joe.
I know. We got definitely.
We'll make it happen. So we'll definitely have you 3 on here again. And
I'll get statistics for Joe. Don't worry, I'll be ready.
I love it, and we're just having these
more
comments.
Number one, then the Beatles.
I think the Beatles are overrated. I'm not going to
I'm
talk
a
about
Stones
that.
fan.
Oh, there you go. Great show. Thank you for letting me hang out anytime, Lauren. Thank you for being on here.
Yes, indeed.
We definitely want to thank Keith Lewis, who's one of our core 4, myself, Doug, and our friend Anna, of course, my amazing brother, Muhammad, who always speaks truth. I tell y'all, when he comes ready, he's ready. So
Yeah,
thank you,
very,
gentlemen.
very impressive. This is great.
Yes,
Yes, salute to the brothers, right? This is y'all closed out the month on a high note. This is how we do it. Brothers gonna work it out.
Joe said he's down.
Law and complaining clients, so they tore me up today. So this was a good one. I get to go home happy for once.
Excellent. We good.
All right, gentlemen. So we bid you a farewell, Mas Salame. So have a good night, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, brothers. Good night. Take care. Be safe.
Good night.
Wow.
That
was a lot of fun. We said big fun. So thank you, Z, for joining us.
Amazing.
Got here right on time.
I see you repping St. John's. Okay.
Joe, New York in the house. So a lot of fun. Thank you to all of our, I don't know what we call them, audience, friends, supporters. Really love what you all bring to the experience. So thank you all for being a part. So big fun. We got endorsed. So appreciate that.
Oh, hey, Mr. Kevon, how are you? Thank you for joining our show.
See, if it was up to me, we wouldn't have anybody. See, thank you, Abir, for actually knowing good people.
All the people I know are good people. You know a lot of good people too, Doug.
Yes.
And then Keith
said, cool.
my 4x4, I'll say, good, we'll keep that for next time. We got that
I hear you. So, I know I own one. Yeah. So, next month, next week and next month, right? What we got?
That is true. So next month, thank you, Sam, for tuning in. Love you, sister. That's my sister-in-law. Isn't she cute? So next month, we kick off October with Maryland Stories, which I think is very exciting because Maryland is very unique. When I first moved here, I'm like, Maryland and Baltimore, but I know now why they call it Charm City. There's a lot going on here. So,
and speaking of nicknames, did you know one reason we said we're going to do Maryland Stories because Maryland, one of Maryland's nicknames is America in Miniature.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that. I kind of stumbled across that, but you know how we like to really bring in, guests from, with diverse living experiences. So you all can be sure we're going to do the same for next month. But go ahead, Abir. You tell them what we got on.
Oh, that's right. American Miniature. We're going to start with our first guest, who is Maxine Seidman. She's actually a very loyal customer at our restaurant in Pikesville, but she's a Baltimore native, and she's going to come speaking about Jewish Baltimore, because if a lot of people don't know, Maryland was actually the first colony, not even state, colony to accept Jews. So she's going to talk about her experience being a daughter of immigrants and what it was like growing up in Jewish Baltimore. And I think it's going to be fascinating because I love Max. She's a wonderful person, and I think she's going to bring a lot of energy. So tune in for that next week, y'all. And so I think we're good. Our music is.
Yep. Always shout out to Mr. Carter. Corey Carter with our music. We appreciate you, brother, for giving us the intro and outro tunes to let folks know what's up.
Throw this up one last time just for the classic giggle. There you go. My brother had that. It's all fun and games. Snoop Dogg, if you're out there, if I am your twin, give me some of your money. So,
he didn't even invite him to be on the show. Just give you the money.
Hey, that would be fine too.
All right. Yeah, Snoop, come on through. Snoop's everywhere. You might as well come through here, Snoop. Come on, everywhere else.
I'll feel you on that one. All right, Douglas. It's always a pleasure to, do the show with you, and I will see you next week.
Likewise, Abir. The pleasure is mine. See you next week.
All right, everybody. Good night.
Good night.